Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We used to be called Everywherever, but I have decided to change the channel name to Traversatile. When I was in the brainstorming stage of creating my channel, it was a whole process figuring out the name I wanted. After many unnecessary, excruciating hours, I narrowed down the options to Everywherever and Traversatile. At that point, I was just so sick of trying to pick one and decided to just go with Everywherever and see how I like it. Welp, it's been a bit and I'm not crazy about it, so I'm changing the name. So for the first time, welcome to Traversatile. Today we'll be calculating my expenses and income from March and compare it to what we budgeted at the beginning of the month. After that, we'll quickly set our budget for April. Let's get into the video. The month of March was exhausting for me, but in a healthy way. I've been working as many hours as I'm able to be scheduled, and it has been so refreshing having a consistent income. It has alleviated a lot of the anxiety I've been facing the past few months. Every time I needed to sit down and make a grocery list and not be limited to 10 things, because that's what I could afford that trip. So even though I've been physically exhausted from being on my feet all the time, it's obviously worth it. Additionally, I've been spending my free time learning more about my passions. I've visualized new options for my future, discovered new expressions of my creativity I want to try, and although I haven't had time to finish any book before I have to return it, I have been learning a lot just from the few pages I've been able to read. I have spent a lot of time recently. I have gotten so much inspiration to try all these new things. There are so many videos I want to make, so many drawings I want to do. I even want to try animation at some point. There are so many books I want to read. I want to write essays and social commentaries. I don't know. I've had a lot of inspiration. So just as I'm going throughout my day, it's like, ooh, I should try that. Ooh, that's a good idea. Ooh, I can factor that into this project whenever I do that. But obviously, I haven't had time to do any of it, even though I have this inspiration just building up. I feel stunted in my creative growth because I just want to express all of this, all of these creative ideas I've gotten, but I just simply don't have the time or means right now. So even though, as I said, I'm very grateful for my current income, I had to shift my routine to now I'm at a point in my life where I don't really have any outlets for my creativity, and that has been frustrating for me. But it's a compromise right now that I just have to live with, but I'm just expressing my frustration to you. So with all that said, it may seem like a stretch, but I think it's rather poetic that today's drawing is a bear. I may currently be in a season of hibernation, creativity-wise, if you will, but I am simply preserving energy, and I can look forward to a time when I am not in this routine and I'll be at a point where I feel like I am living with purpose and expressing the creativity in the way that I want to, instead of being caught in a tiring, mundane cycle. I don't know if that made any sense, but I wrote this at 4 a.m, and I literally wrote, future me can try to make these sleep-deprived thoughts comprehensible. So hopefully that was a good job. So now let's get into my budget notebook. Here we are. So I did really bad with keeping up with expenses as they happen. So I wrote down nothing throughout the month of March. I wrote down this because it was an all cash transaction, a cash only transaction. So I have the receipt for it, but it's not in my bank transaction history. So I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget. And then similarly, my first salary from Instacart was in the form of a check, not direct deposit. So I also wrote this down so I wouldn't forget. Everything else is in my transaction history. So now I'm going to go through and fill everything in so y'all can just vibe to the music in the meantime. So there's everything from the month of March. I'm glad this ended up being this much, considering I wasn't tracking with it throughout the month. I was afraid this was going to be a lot higher, but it's all right. Even though there are a lot of transactions for groceries, a fair amount of them are small, like just getting milk or just getting butter on my way home from work. So even though there's a lot, that doesn't mean I spent a lot each time. It's just many different days spread out of the transactions. The only one that I overspent on was groceries, and that only by 78, 72. So not ideal, but I obviously could do better, but I could have done worse. Everything else I ended up spending less than I had budgeted for. For gas, I ended up not doing anything this past month. My mom filled up the tank every single time, but I know this upcoming month I probably will fill it up once or twice myself. Everything else, this is perhaps the only bad one. I wanted to give $330, but I only gave $300. So in this case, spending less is more of the bad thing. But for all the rest of this, I think it's fairly good that I spent less than I had planned for. I didn't really get that much that I had expected to at the beginning of the month. My income was a lot nicer this month. I actually didn't get my paycheck for the last week of March until the 1st of April. So that's not here, but that was a whole extra amount that I had earned in the month of March. I just hadn't received in the month of March. That will go in my history for April. So let's just quickly set the budget for April. I have to go to work soon, so I have to rush through this, but I can do it fairly quickly. It's not neat, but whatever. Okay, so I estimated the amount I would earn in March correctly, this amount. However, I didn't know how much would be taken out for taxes and all that. So I did in fact earn that much over the course of 3 weeks, but I did not receive that much. So now that I know approximately how much I'll receive for 4 weeks of work, I'll use that as my basis for April. I'll just put about this. So I'll be earning more than this, but from all the stuff taken out, I'll end up receiving approximately this much, hopefully. I'm just going to increase this $550. That way we'll be a bit more on budget this time. Pets, I know I'll be loading up on stuff this month. My fiance and I plan on having a date night, so maybe I'll also do 60 for that. For gas, I do plan on actually getting gas this month, but I'll still give the 40 because I may only fill it up one time. How much did we spend? We ended up spending, I think 100 is about correct. I'll probably keep it at 100. And then loans are going to be basically the same. I don't want to put the cents. I'm just going to round to 80 again. And then based on that, so we'll have 310 left over for that. Let's see if we actually put that much in for travel this time. Let me do this real quick because it's gonna bother me otherwise. Yum. Oh, marker. Hush. Oh, I forgot. Okay, so there's a quick little budget for April. That's about it. I do have to go, so that was pretty much all that I had. So yeah, we'll try to stay more updated with April's expenses as we go. So there was everything from the past month. We compared how much we spent to what we had planned to spend in March, and we set our budget for April. Over the next week or two, I do hope to make my first cash stuffing video. So keep an eye out for that. I will try to do that soon. I just have to try to coordinate going to the bank before work. That way I don't have to worry about the banks being closed when I get out of work. It's just, I have to plan ahead for that. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe to stay updated as I go throughout this journey. If you have any questions or suggestions, comment down below. This has been Traversatile. Farewell. So to put it, to stay updated as I go throughout this journey. Bro, when I tell you I just had so much happen in the past 3 seconds. I look up and outside the window, there's just a bird in the tree. I'm like, oh, hello, bird, what's up? And then I look down and there's dude just running at my property. I'm like, oh, why is this random dude running at my property? What's going down? Turns out he was just crossing the street to get to the sidewalk in front of my yard. I was like, oh, cool, that dude's just walking down the street. And then right after that, I see this dude just zooming by in a one of the motorized wheelchairs down the middle of the street. And all that happened in like the span of 3 seconds, and I'm just discombobulated. I don't know how to react to this. I'm just trying to do a video, and this is what I get as the intro.